Sometimes, the questions that catches us off guard are the questions that teaches us the most. These are questions that seem simple, so many people dive right into it. And as they answer, they realize that it is much more complex than it appears. The result becomes narrow answers that lack depth and fail to address the core issue. And this is understandable because the question that we'll be going over today is really tricky, and I want to break it down to share with you what I have learned from my own experience to help you nail the interview. I'm really excited to dive into today's video because we'll be dissecting a question that's deceptively simple but surprisingly easy to get wrong. It's one of the most common questions asked in a Scrum interview, and honestly, I've seen so many people fumble with it, even seasoned Scrum Masters. The question is, how do you ensure that the sprint goal is clear and realistic? On the surface, it may seem like a straightforward question, but let me tell you, it's much more than just setting a goal. It's about knowing how to balance ambition and realism, guiding your team to achieve challenging goals without overcommitting. And in this video, I'll share an experience where I watched a colleague tackle this question, what they learned from it, and how I would have handled it based on my own experiences. Here's a quick tip when answering questions like this. Don't jump into solutions right away. Take a moment to consider the full scope of the question to diagnose the underlying issue. So let's dive into the details. Place yourself in the seat of the interviewer and you realize that they want to see if you understand the importance of working with the product owner to define a goal that aligns with the product vision while remaining achievable. It's not just about setting a goal, it's about aligning with priorities and feasibility. The interviewer wants to see if you use historical velocity data to guide the team, or are you just guessing? Do you base decisions on data or just assumptions? They're also assessing your communication skills because a clear sprint goal requires concise communication both to the team and the stakeholders. Because if the goal is unclear, the team may struggle to focus and stakeholders may misunderstand the sprint's focus. So how do you ensure that the sprint goal is clear and realistic? If I'm asked this question in an interview, here's how I'll approach it. This is a thought-provoking question, and I'm really glad you asked because it gives me the opportunity to highlight what I believe is my biggest skills and what sets me apart. Let me share with you a story about a high-performing team that I worked with that was incredibly motivated to make every sprint count. This team had a history of meeting sprint goals and were used to performing well above expectations. But one sprint, it was clear that they were taking on too much. We packed our sprint plan with more tasks than usual, and I knew immediately that we were at risk of failing to deliver. So I had to step in to pause the sprint planning. I shared my concerns with the team and pointed out that while ambition is great, predictability is key to building trust both with the team and with our stakeholders. I encouraged them to think about what they can realistically achieve without sacrificing quality. I revisited our sprint backlog and narrowed it down to a goal that was challenging but achievable. By taking a step back, the team saw the value of setting a realistic pace. We learned that continuous improvement doesn't mean stretching to the point of overcommitment, but rather finding a sustainable pace that we could maintain over time. And this approach helped us to maintain a rhythm of predictability, which made our performance more reliable and strengthened trust, which made our performance more reliable and strengthened trust with stakeholders. The major challenge Scrum Masters often face is managing the expectations of our stakeholders. I remember a situation when we were close to a major release and our stakeholders were pushing for extra features to be included in the upcoming sprint. Their expectations were high, but our capacity didn't match up. And in this case, I took it upon myself to act as a bridge between the team and our stakeholders. I sat down with them and shared a realistic view of what the team could accomplish without compromising quality. I reviewed our team's historical velocity with them and discussed the risk of us taking on too much too close to release. And after this open conversation, they understood the importance of focusing on high priority items and agreed to a streamlined sprint goal. And this helped the team to remain focused and helped us to deliver product that maintain our quality standards within the timeline. There are several ways in which you can go about answering this question. With this question, you can also begin by emphasizing the importance of working closely with the product owner to define a sprint goal that's not only achievable but impactful. This alignment ensures that the goal adds real value to the product and it keeps the team focused on the priorities. Next, you could explain of how you would rely on the team's historical velocity and capacity to keep the sprint goal grounded in reality. By examining past sprints, you can set expectations that are achievable based on what the team has delivered before. This reminds me of the saying, "A man's past is prophecy. What he has done determines what he will do." That was deep, right? But essentially, going into a team's past through a data-driven approach helps to maintain predictability and prevent overcommitment. I'm all for encouraging the team to stretch their limits, but it has to be done in a way that doesn't compromise quality. I believe this point should not go unmentioned when tackling this question. You want to guide the team to set slightly ambitious goals while maintaining a focus on predictability and consistency, because this approach allows the team to grow consistently without burning out. Finally, I think it's important to emphasize keeping our stakeholders informed to make sure the sprint goal is clearly communicated so that our stakeholders can have realistic expectations. By setting transparent goals, everyone is aligned and we reduce misunderstandings. Let me know your thoughts. How would you answer this question? Does your opinion differ from mine? Let us reason together in the comments. Also, if there's a question that you would like me to answer in a future video, let me know. Your question might be my next video.